Well, joining me now are some of the students who have been affected. Tom Marles is a sixth form student. Tala Al-Kamil is in her final year studying law at university here in Leeds. And Esme McGowan is in her final year of a languages degree. Tom Marles, let me start with you, because you've had your learning disrupted by COVID and now this. I mean, that must be very frustrating.
I think at times it can be very frustrating. You know, a lot of the time we want to get as much learning in as possible due to the almost year of missed learning that we've had, and I think sometimes we have to balance our want for education with the need to see teachers really, get the pay that they deserve, and a lot of the time we have to put our own needs besides.
Well, that's very altruistic of you, but I mean, why do you feel that teachers do deserve a raise? Set that out for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have to realise that the teachers, they are teaching the future generation and the people that are going to be leading this country, and if we don't give these teachers the proper pay that they deserve, then that's just not going to happen. And I think the government especially needs to realise that teachers aren't just going to sit down and say, yeah, I'm going to be underpaid and I'm going to put forward my work every day and teach these children, because I think people don't understand quite how difficult it is being a teacher and putting themselves in other people's shoes, sort of. And
do your friends feel the same, or are some of them griping about this?
Oh no, some of them are quite annoyed that they're not getting the education time that they think, that they assume they deserve.
Right. Well, Tala Al-Kamil, let me come to you now, because university students for several years now have had their education disrupted. Are you mad about it?
Well, I think it's a brilliant point that this has been going on for a long time. Since I started university, the strikes have just been escalating, getting worse, to the point that this semester is definitely the most disruptive that I've seen. I think it's hard to feel frustrated, though, when it's really for a very important cause. I'm very aware that the lecturers wouldn't be striking unless there was a very good reason to, and it wouldn't be so disruptive unless it was really, really necessary. So I think it's hard to harbour any negative sentiments towards them for that reason.
Right, Esme McGowan, we've had a lot of agreement here with Tom and Tala. Do you feel the same, that despite the fact that your learning is disrupted, you still want a pay rise for your teachers?
Completely. I think more than anything, the lecturers have been trying for years now to get fair pay, to get better working conditions, to stop casualised labour within the universities, and it's not happening. The vice-chancellors across the country are paid I don't know the exact details, but are paid very healthy.
Well, one of them is paid
packets.
£700,000 a year. So, I mean, doesn't that argue against a pay rise if some people in this sector are incredibly well paid?
I think it argues against such disparity in pay, where you have consistent strikes from the lecturers and from other university staff and PhD students who are clearly continuing to feel the struggle, and they're not being listened to. The students aren't benefiting, but the people who are being paid such high amounts aren't responding, and it's aggravating. It's very, very annoying, and I have no qualms whatsoever with lecturers on strike, because
even though you didn't get any lectures today?
Yeah, I will suffer. My fellow students will suffer, especially at the moment. It's final year. We've got dissertations coming up. We've got big, important assessments. But I would always wholeheartedly support the strikes.
Tala, is that the same for you? Even, as this goes on, your third-year law student, you need to be getting this teaching now, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think in general I agree, but I also think there are some serious repercussions to us not getting the teaching that we've signed up for. I think for law in particular, there's some core teaching it's essential in the degree, and the fact that we're not getting it, that will go on to impact us in interviews for jobs and in the workplace in the future. I think also, like, talking about it being a pay rise, I think a lot of the staff feel like they're not asking for more. It's not a pay rise, and they already have such a substantial payment already. I think it's
because of inflation. It's actually they've had a real-time cut.
Yeah, and a number of other factors. Yeah.
Tom, will your patience with your teachers continue even if it comes up to exams? I mean, I know you're first year sixth at the moment, aren't you? But if this drags on into next year, God forbid, and it's going to threaten your A-levels, would you start to feel differently, do you think?
Well, I think there's still the problem even before our A-levels, see, with a lot of the time when we do mocks and things, we have to prepare for those, and if we don't do well in our mocks, then the universities aren't going to look as favourably on us, which means people might not be able to, go to the places that they want to go, achieve the goals they want to achieve. And I think eventually it will get to a point where students themselves might strike or might go on their own action to, get back the education that they deserve.
I mean, you're an incredibly adaptable generation, all of you, because you've had to put up with COVID and now this. How are you getting around all this disruption, Tom?
I think it's important to have a very stable family structure, especially in this day and age. You need people that are able to support you. I think along with that, the problem now that there are such big individual differences, if school is relying on information and education being sent out by technology, some students don't have the technology.
Yeah, so the disadvantaged kids get hit the worst, as the National Audit Office report. Definitely. And that is a worry, isn't it? You've got a very supportive family.
Yeah, I love my family so much. They're very supportive.
I'm sure they'll be pleased to hear that.
Oh, well, yeah. but no, I think it's the problem with individual classes as well. If you have half the class that is well ahead and half that is well behind, teachers are going to struggle to manage that.
Tala, is that something you share, that, it's all very well if you've got that network of support, you've got the confidence, but if you're disadvantaged and you're at university and you're missing all these classes, it's going to affect your life chances, isn't it?
I definitely agree, and I think at university in particular, it's such an independent environment. There's access to resources for starters, but even just having a stable community and network, I think it's very difficult at university, especially, depending on what year you've joined with COVID. I think it's been really hard to get that network of support, especially in a classroom structure.
Yeah, definitely.
Esme, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's especially going to, like we said, especially going to affect the people who are already disadvantaged. When you think that there's students having to do part-time work on top of things, or perhaps being carers, I think it's one of those things that it is really tough. It's quite hard to motivate yourself. It's quite hard to, sorry. I
mean, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're not getting a pay rise in terms of, tuition fees. You're paying these socking great 9,000 and more tuition fees every year. It's tough to get by, isn't it, as a student at the moment?
Especially these days financially. But I think also it does feel like a kick in the teeth when you think we're losing our education. The lecturers are missing out on being paid. It's not a day off for them. And, like we were saying earlier, the vice chancellors are not responding, and they're not the ones who are suffering.
Do you feel like the blighted generation?
No, I don't. I feel like I think every generation has something to deal with. I think every generation is defined by the difficulties that they face. And I think that ours will be this difficulty in education. But again, I feel like that it will make us, I feel like we as a community and in our education, we would develop a resilience, I would hope.
In a sentence, who do you blame for all this, Tala?
I don't know if anyone's to blame, but it's definitely not the staff who are on strike.
Esme?
I would say it's a decade or more of austerity from the government, alongside universities becoming increasingly business-type models rather than thinking of the students first.
Tom, in a word, who do you blame?
People that would want to blame others.
That's a cryptic answer. Tom, Marles, Tala Al-Kamil and Esme McGowan, thank you very much for joining us. Matt, back to you.